All right, ladies and gentlemen, this episode of Iron Age Radio is brought to you by none other than the Schram Cattle Co. in Cartwright, Manitoba. We just saw the owner and operator, the proprietor of the Schram Cattle Co. compete yesterday at Manitoba Strongest Man. And if that performance doesn't tell you that he has the best beef in town, I don't know what to tell you. World's Strongest Man competitor, Strongest Man on Earth competitor, Wes Derwinsky, you just tried a burger made from the meat of Mark Schram's cows. Does it get the Strongman Moose seal of approval?
It does indeed.
There we go. What else could you ask for besides one of the strongest men on Earth enjoying the beef? Mark Schram Cattle Co. Message him on Instagram or message us on Instagram, and we can hook you up. Welcome to a very, very special episode of Iron Age Radio. As you can tell, we are not in the gym. We're not even in mine and Gian's living room. We're actually in the backyard of Sigurdsson Manor here in Charleswood, Winnipeg, Manitoba. And I'm being joined by a very special guest today. He is a two-time World's Strongest Man competitor. He's about to be a two-time Strongest Man on Earth competitor. He's done Giants Live. He's a perennial podium favorite at Canada Strongest Man, and he is your special guest referee for Manitoba's Strongest Man and Woman, Wesley Moose, the real Moose, Derwinsky.
Woohoo!
Hey, how's it going?
How's that for an intro?
It's an intro right there. I don't know if I can live up to all that.
No, but you already have, Wes. That's the amazing thing. So we're coming off of a very big weekend. It wasn't just one day, it was a whole weekend of strongman shenanigans. Manitoba Strongest Man and Woman yesterday, all the loading and stuff that we did and everything leading up to it. How are you feeling today?
Not too bad, actually, especially after going to the gym too. So
Yeah, we got a little lifting today. We're still wearing the chalk from our lift today. So Wes, this was your first experience with like Manitoba Strongman, I think, right?
Yep. Yeah. I've been here before.
What are your thoughts on it? What are your takes?
I loved the look of it. It was reminding me of when I started in Strongman. It was a good homegrown show at a local festival, and everybody there was to have fun and compete. Like, it was just a good thing to see that I haven't seen in a long time.
Because you're a proponent of like old school strongman.
Yeah.
You're a proponent of the way that strongman, maybe the way that we kind of remember it as some of the old heads, where it's it's funny because you said you hate the term open strongman. It's supposed to be called just strongman.
Yeah.
but open divisions.
Yeah.
And everybody testing themselves. The lighter guys testing themselves against the heavy guys. The new guys testing themselves against the veterans, the guys who've been around for a while. And I think that this show, I hope it lived up to that in some way for you. Yeah.
No, it was good. You could see the different levels throughout, I'll say the province, even though not everybody was here, but you could see the good, the bottom guys, the middle guys, the top guys, and then the people fighting to climb those ranks.
Yes.
And I remember doing that myself, going from local comps to OSM to then eventually making it to CSM.
Right, because you broke in at a time, I think we talked about this a little bit on the last time you were on the podcast, but you broke in at a time when OSM was super hot. Yeah. Super hard to break into and do well in. Like, you could do it maybe, but
yeah.
OSM was like, I remember when I was a young dude just starting strongman in Manitoba, OSM was kind of like talked to in like very revered terms, where that's where strong fucking guys competed, and they were world level guys too, and in one province.
Yeah. When I started doing OSM, we had about 4 to 6, pros from our Canadian circuit that I had to compete against to try and make it to Canada's, and all of them had been to Canada's once or twice or multiple times, So it's just a pretty stacked field of guys.
So I say that so that people know that you're not a guy who's kind of wishing for something that never was. Like, you were around in a period, and that's why it's nice to hear that the show kind of lived up to that in some way too, because that's what we want to capture with Manitoba Strongest Man.
Yeah.
We have provincials, like we have SEC provincials, and sometimes I have to explain to people that Manitoba Strongest Man and Woman is a very different thing than that.
Yeah.
This isn't like a qualifier for the next thing. Yeah. This is our thing.
Yeah. Purely pride.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's
pride and the title that you get to say you are Manitoba's Strongest Man or Woman or whatever your province is or city or region, whatever it is.
Absolutely. And we saw that too with guys like Dan Langelar, our pros stepping up and making sure that this is a show that's populated by our pros. Unfortunately, I didn't do it because I'm a big pussy and I'm preparing for a different show. But it was awesome to see that. And So I hope that people kind of recognize this too. Though I think I made sure I told them yesterday too. But you're taking a break from your prep for SMO, Strongest Man on Earth, to come out and do this. That's not something that just anybody would do, I think, honestly. And I don't mean to shine your knob here too much, but I think that it is like a really cool thing that you have objectively the hardest show probably that you've ever done, I would guess, maybe since last SMO.
Yeah.
But you still felt like it was important enough to you to come here and support this homegrown sort of like the grassroots strongman stuff here.
Yeah. To be fair, I did agree to this before I was invited, but I'm a man of my word, and yes. I agreed to come out here and help you guys and ref the show and everything, so there's no reason for me not to come out here.
Yeah.
Training is training, whether you...
And you still train today?
Yeah. I knew you'd have strongman equipment out here, so if I needed to get a workout in, I'll get a workout in.
Yeah.
Traveling is part of being a professional strongman.
Love it.
You got to use all the equipment, not just yours in the gym.
And I think that's important too, like you said, because we've been talking a lot. We've spent basically every waking moment together since Saturday morning.
Yep.
But we've done a lot of talking about that kind of stuff and about how it's like, you can't get too used to one thing, because you're going to be pulling on, say, your trap bar or whatever, getting ready for Strongest Man on Earth, but your trap bar is not Brian Shaw's trap bar.
No.
And let's say if we're preparing for North America's Strongest Man, the log that I have at my gym is not the log they're using at North America's Strongest Man. So to get out there and try different shit, it's important in the sport.
Yeah, you can see it with guys, whether it's in the state, throughout North America, or just here. Like, some guys are really only good in their province.
Yes.
And then when they leave their province...
Who are we talking about right now?
Some of... I don't want to give names, but when those guys usually leave the province, they seem to not have the same placing. Like, it almost the drive, or... They're not. It really does look like they're just not used to the equipment.
It rattles them a little bit too, I think. Yeah.
So,
and so
you know who you are.
I don't know who you are.
You're still good guys, but you know who you are.
And I think that what might shock some people in the strongman community, Wes is a really good guy. He's a really nice character, and I know
some might say.
And I know that this is gonna be a very controversial take here. That Wes is actually a really nice guy, but I know that a lot of the people, especially the women, they you're an intimidating dude physically. Like, you're just a big guy, and you're a crusty old man.
Some might say.
But like, all the women left there being like, this guy is really, really helpful, and I think that if people.
Even after kind of yelling at them once.
Absolutely, yeah. And but that's the thing, is that you came in here, and I told them beforehand too. I said that Wes is coming here not just to ref this show, but to lend his experience to this. Like you've done the biggest shows on Earth, but you've also done plenty of shows around this level, and you've seen them done very well.
Yeah.
So that's what I said, is if Wes tells you to do something, do it his way, because the guy knows.
Yeah.
But I know, like, a lot of the ladies and a lot of the newer competitors were really happy to talk with you and just like learn.
Yeah, a lot of them came up and asked questions, and I have no problem answering them. Like,
is that something you experience a lot, like with people like approaching you and coming to you, or do you kind of get that wall up a little bit? Maybe not on purpose even, but just like
I wouldn't say I put up a wall, but like I'm not like appearance wise. I guess I'm not the most approachable guy, but I've had this conversation with other people. Whenever they have approached me, I have no problem answering the question. Just don't ask me while I'm like in the middle of doing something, because
there's always a time and a place, right?
For me, at this point in my life, going to the gym is my job.
Right.
It is not the thing I just do for fun. It's not my hobby. I have to go now. Right. I don't work currently. I'm fully invested in Pro Strongman. So it's not go there and chat with my friends. Yeah, it happens, but I need to get the work done as well.
Yeah. So. And I think that's like a shift that a lot of people can't really understand. When strongman, for 99% of people who do it, it's a fun hobby that we like to do.
Yeah.
And then for that very small percent, it becomes much, much more than that. It's your livelihood. It's something that you pour like every last bit of yourself into.
Yeah. So, you got to come in with a bit of aggression sometimes when we're going to be doing well over 1,000-pound yokes. Like,
you can't be half in, half out on that.
No, and I getting prepped for that. You have to do that like week in, week out, or every other week. So we don't feel good every day. So it's like, I look miserable because my body is breaking down.
Right.
And I have to ask more of it every single day when I go into the gym.
Right.
But that's what we got to do.
That's what we got to do. So speaking of things that'll break your body down, preparing for Strongest Man on Earth right now, you've done it before.
Yeah.
How do you feel going into this one compared to maybe your prep, or how you're going into the first one?
I feel pretty good. I feel probably about as confident as I did last year. Hopefully a little more, because I went in with like a torn bicep, shoulder, whatever it ended up being in the last years. But
which you did at North America's Strongest Man.
Yeah, 2 weeks before that.
2 weeks before that.
2.5 to whatever it was. Same thing this year. We have North America's 2.5 weeks before SMO, and then the following Saturday we have Canada's Strongest Man. But we can get into that later.
But I like that, and we've talked about this a little bit again the time that we spent together this weekend. But you've talked about how you're not a guy who peaks for competitions. You train for them and you get ready for them, but you're kind of it's been I've heard it used before as like a running joke that like you're just always strong. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're just always.
That's the idea.
I think that Alex said that, or Lucas had said it, where he's like, I don't walk around like as strong as I always am.
Yeah.
And then I think Alex said, well, yeah, we're not all West Derwinsky. Like that's just like
I didn't hear that one.
Yeah,
but.
you're just you're like a stay ready so you don't have to get ready kind of guy.
Yeah, because at my current level, like when the opportunity arises, you can't say no.
Right.
Because it might not come again.
Right.
Because you said no.
Right.
So I got to take them. I'm not, like an Eddie Hall or a Brian Shaw, like where I can say no and then they'll still invite me to the next one because I'm still a top guy, but I don't want to lose the ability to compete.
Sure. And we saw that with World's Strongest Man this year, and this is something that we talked about quite a bit on the podcast. And we're not gonna get into any negative talk or anything, but you got a real like buzzer beater call to World's Strongest Man. Like it was pretty close to the competition itself when you were invited, and that was the same thing last year too. But I think that maybe we all expected you to get that call this year, and it just took longer than anybody anticipated.
Yeah, it came a little bit later than we thought it would. Thankfully, it did. But yeah, I think it was maybe 6 weeks notice, which is still a lot of time to get ready for the show. But I was prepping a little bit for it in case I got the invite, but also prepping for Eastern Canada's Strongest Man, where it had some slightly different events, but still would have had carryover. But yeah, I don't think I was fully invested in the training leading up to Worlds either. So I got beat, plain and simple, by the stronger men on the day. But that definitely wasn't even anywhere near where I should have been performing.
So when you look at a competition like, say, Strongest Man on Earth compared to World's Strongest Man, do you think that this suits you better?
Yeah, I like the 8 events in 2 days. The absolute brutality of it, I think, is the part that I like.
Because everything that you describe about liking, like the things that you like about Strongman, like the the Strongest Man on Earth, is that at like the highest level, it seems like, to me at least.
Yeah, it's like between that and North America's, I'd say it's like the closest thing to Fortissimus we have at the current moment.
Yeah.
Because the Arnold's is the heaviest, but it's only 4 or 5. I think maybe they did 6 this year.
I think so, yeah.
But it's still not. There's very, very little athletic component to that, whereas there's a bit more to the Shaw, and there was a bit at Fortissimus and all that, and same at North America's. And you need to have a bit more moving, I think, and Brian has that with a few of the events.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then he has the compounding brutality of the heavy events because he makes them heavy.
Yes, that trap bar is going to be the numbers that people are going to pull on that are going to be really insane.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how high we can get on that. I think someone could maybe push 1,100 or more. Yeah. Like, I don't want to put a ceiling on it in the slightest because I want to see.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, I want to see everyone just go all out.
If you were to put just off the top of your head, who do you think has the biggest trap bar deadlift pull right now?
Based off what I've seen online for the few guys that have posted, I'd say it's Bobby Thompson, and then maybe Hatton behind him. Like both of them, Hatton's legs are so freaking strong, and then Bobby's 1,000-pound deadlifter. So, and he's putting up big numbers right now on Instagram. So, I would not count those two out to be in the top 3 for sure.
So with you previously having held the world record for the keg throw. Is that something that something you feel you can repeat at the Strongest Man on Earth? Like, is that something that you have again in you?
I am not 100% sure on that because I don't remember what Thor moved the bar to.
Yeah.
But his leverages and his strength would, I think, even if I did break it, he could just turn around and go, okay, how you did it again.
I mean, he's just kind of Superman when it comes to that kind of stuff.
But I think if I had a good... if I actually tried to like peak that or like push that, I think maybe I could get back upwards of pushing the record, but I honestly have no idea, because that was the first time I'd ever thrown. Sorry, second time in my 11 years competing that I did that, and just it just happened to be
just worked.
Decent. Yeah,
decent.
So.
You're talking to one of the strongest men on earth when a world record becomes decent. That's where we're at right now.
Very humble.
Very humble, this man.
It wasn't just mine. I had to share it with 2 other guys.
Who gives a fuck about those guys, though?
Yeah, but you're here right now, so it's yours.
Yeah, we're talking about you, Wes Derwinsky. So what I wanted to pull up here, too, is we had a few people that asked questions, and some of them are people who were at the show, like competing with us the last little bit. So I want to...
And then there's Jeffers.
And there's definitely going to be Jeffers. There's no question about that.
He should probably be taking care of his child, but he's watching some strongman thing in Uzbekistan and worrying about the amateurs coming over from Europe or something. I don't know.
That doesn't sound like the Jeffers that I know, so I'm not sure if you know some other man named James Jeffers, but...
He's got his kid's strongman stats already. And
for sure, yeah, absolutely. Taking measurements of its hands and stuff, for sure. Yeah. Its hands. It's his hands. I don't know why I said that. But, so speaking of James Jeffers, let's start off with his question. It says, when you're on the cusp of breaking into the big shows, how does a guy get 1% better?
You just go to the gym day in and day out.
Just go to the gym day in and day out. That's all it is.
Keep putting the work in.
Yeah.
So eventually it's got to happen. Like, you know.
You got to find that 1% somewhere.
Yeah. You're telling me there's a chance.
So here's an actual question, not just a Jeffers retard thing, but what's the best advice for novice competitors in their first season? This is something that you do have a lot of insight on.
Yeah. Compete as much as you can. Find equipment that you can train on if you don't have it already in the gym, which is a pretty common thing nowadays to have the basics in most gyms now. Do your local shows like Manitoba Strongest Man and stuff like that. So you can, if you do want to stick with it, you can continually help grow the sport in your area. But compete as much as you can and find the group of people that you're competitive with, even if it's the bottom pack or the top, and just start trying to tick off each guy or each girl ahead of you, and eventually you start climbing the ladder.
I think that's a really interesting way to look at it, because I think a lot of people look at, like, let's say if we're to look at Manitoba Strongest yesterday. Yeah. A guy who's brand new to the sport might look at like Langelar or Dan or even Thrones, who got third place there, and be like, well, I can't hang with those guys. So I don't know if I'm even going to bother with this. But there's a whole other section of guys that are off that podium that are trading spots, getting better, changing year by year.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's worth considering that, like, the podium isn't the only finish of the show.
Yeah.
You can improve by going from 7th to 6th in 1 year, and that's a big jump.
Yeah. And we talked about this, I think it was yesterday, for like the filming of shows, how they really only show like the top 2.
Right.
But I was like, well, and if watch NASCAR or racing, whatever, like the front of the pack can just be like driving in a boring race, but 8 spots back, 9th and 10th have been banging and hitting and swapping and stuff like. So like it could be the same way in the strongman. Like 1, 2, 3 are just placing 1, 2, 3, but 4, 5, 4 to 7 have been going back and forth, and they've changed spots every single event. Like that's something that obviously would be, I think, make a little bit better TV sometimes. But that's like, you got to look at that battle. That if you're in that battle, win that, and then you can go on and push to try and beat the top 3 people.
It's looking at like you said, like smaller battles rather than just trying to win a war immediately.
Like, be honest with yourself. Like, not every time you go into a show, you want to win, but you also have to be a little bit realistic, because you might have to have a plan that, well, if I can win, if the plan goes through.
Right.
If I make a mistake, which is possible, or the other person makes a mistake, we can capitalize, or it can be a huge negative against us, and then the plan goes out the window.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. That's a great answer to that question. That's exactly what I'm sure that person would like to hear. No question. Just grateful for your help your help and pointers while we were loading. Yeah. One of the guys that we were helping out with yesterday, and just Wes isn't gonna want me to say this necessarily, but he helped every step of the way on this competition. So when you got here on Saturday.
Yep.
So I was like, I got to go to the gym and load some stuff up, and you were like, I'll come with you, and I was like, all right, like you don't have to, but of course you can come hang out, whatever. And that's kind of what I thought. I was like, you can come and chill, and we'll load the stuff up, and I'll take care of everything. But that's just not how Wes Derwinsky do.
I was going to let you and your older father try and pick up that freaking chain link off the fucking ground.
But it was like everything though, and it was you were loading the shit there. You were loading stuff at the shows. You were loading stuff at the end of the show. We unloaded some more stuff today.
Yeah,
and it's it says something about not letting this new place that you're at in the sport affect your appreciation for what like all levels of it. I think.
Well, also like when I was coming up, one of our friends, Ben Ruxtel, he was a former Ontario Strongest Man competitor and winner, and placed as high as I believe third. I think I eclipsed his little third place.
Nice.
With my second the 1 year. But after those shows, like you go to these shows continuously and continuously, or SCC shows, however far they're spread out, you'll find your group within the strongman group, and then that was a big group we were a part of. But when we'd help set up the show when we got there, and then when you're done, we pack it up with Ben, and then most of the time he wasn't too far from where the venues usually were, so we'd go back to his house, unload it all, and then sit down and have beers and sit around the fire, go in the pool. Like
it's an experience.
Yeah,
right? It's like a social thing.
You know, you built that brotherhood and like brought the couples together, not just the two guys or the other competitors, whatever it is.
And we talked about this before too, where it's we all have this one thing that we like, which is strongman.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily enough for you to be like, I want to give a ton of my time and attention to any one person or whatever. But when you start to spend more time with somebody and you are doing like the in the trenches shit, and you're loading stuff up and you're unloading stuff, and then you're sitting around having beers afterwards and stuff, that's when you get closer to these guys who maybe are a little more guarded in who they kind of let into their circles. Yeah. Like I'm sure that was the case with the OSM guys. I'm sure you didn't just walk in and everyone's like, Wes, we're so happy to meet you. Welcome to the Ontario Strongman scene, you know?
No, not that they weren't like nice when I showed up, but they were just like, okay, nice to meet you. Yeah. Have a seat under the tent.
Because people come and go.
Yeah.
Right? It's like they can't...
They come and go every day, man.
Yeah, and you can't be expected as somebody who's been doing this for like, let's say 10 years or whatever, and you've been at it for quite some time. Like how many people, you couldn't put a number on it, but how many people have you seen come and go inside of 1 year?
I've seen the entire roster of Ontario change.
Right.
In my 10 years.
Absolutely.
So, like when I started, the only people left competing off the top of my head right now is Lance Lavallee and Max Boudreau.
That's crazy.
That's it.
Yeah.
And at like a competitive level, not just they do a show once a year or something like that. Everyone else is done that I can think of off the top of my head right now.
It's a crazy thing because I had the same thing too, where I think it was my second or third comp. I went to Thunder Bay and competed, and I just stumbled upon a photo of that group shot.
Yeah.
And I think it was me and Max are the only guys who were still competing from that photo of probably like 15 guys.
Yeah.
And not only that, but it was like I never saw this person again. I never saw this person again. And it was just like for the time, it seemed like a relatively heavy show. So these are guys who were trying and getting involved, but it's a demanding sport too. And if you're not ready to like give a little more of yourself into it, you might not be. You'll have a little bit of fun, and then you make your leave of it at some point.
Yeah. Hopefully you can figure out when the leave is, and it doesn't have to tell you. But
yeah, absolutely.
I think I'm gonna have to be told. But
you said earlier that. One of the guys at the gym was saying that he's getting a little older and he's getting tweaks in the back, and you said, well, when I'm a little older, I'll probably be in a wheelchair. So.
Yeah, I was probably a little closer to going into a wheelchair than he is. So.
So not only do you have Strongest Man on Earth coming up, but you also have North America Strongest Man coming up.
Correct.
Where you and me will be hanging out there too. North America Strongest Man is like a really cool show, in that it's kind of like one of the better kept secrets in strongman. In that it's the word's kind of getting out now. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
It's been an extremely heavy, extremely competitive, difficult show, but just due to the way that things are done sometimes in Quebec, it's all in French.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a live stream to see it or anything yet. So it's kind of like this thing where the people who know.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of strongman fans might not be aware. You've done North America's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
What was your experience like with it? Like, how is it different from other shows kind of that level?
It was awesome, especially growing up and like wanting to go there, and then losing it after COVID and not knowing if it was going to come back. That was pretty shitty. But then we got the okay, and it's back now. I think it's year 4.
Yep.
So and it's growing every year since we started it back up again, and it's hard, it's heavy, and it's always hot out there. And every year it's completely different. All the events, like I think we've pulled the same truck every year, but we've pulled it in different spots. It changes. Like sometimes this year we're doing it with arm over arm because last year we did rope and harness and it was too easy. But the year before that, it was up an incline the entire way. And I think maybe 5 or 6 guys finished it, and they were all over the body weight of like 350. Except for maybe Max.
Yeah.
Max is the exception on truck pull. He's just, his arms are fucking strong. But yeah, it's a great show, and it is like a hidden kept secret because it used to be an Arnold's qualifier.
Yes.
Back when there was more than just the Ohio one, really. But hopefully one day maybe we can hit pause or move North America somewhere else one year and try and bring back an international component to it, or even just bring in 2 or 3 guest competitors and have them run beside us with North Americas. And still, if they win, which would not happen here in Canada, I won't allow that.
That's good.
But then they get bumped out, and then the next guy's North America's Strongest Man.
There you go. And that's and when I say that, it's sort of like I don't mean to make it sound like it's a small show because it's not.
Yeah.
Like get the hell down, Dolly. In Quebec, it's a very, very big deal.
Yeah.
Like it's a huge crowd. It's part of a big festival that they have in Victoriaville.
Yeah.
And the French, like we know that the French Canadians love.
Go on.
Dolly, get the hell out of here.
Go on.
French Canadians love strongman in a way that's like kind of hard to understand if you haven't been there before and you haven't competed in front of them.
Yeah.
And this is like the pinnacle of a French Canadian strongman show.
It's our biggest show in Canada. Has been probably since it started.
Yeah.
And fun fact, thanks to Chad Coy, because he always has to tell war stories and tell me how great he is. They and he loves talking about the old shows that I know about.
Yeah.
He did North America's back in the day when it was Gatineau, and they did a max yoke there. And the yokes that they use are the engine block yokes from back in the day, and they are a tricky yoke to do. And it's not just plate loaded. It was like they're throwing chains over it because there's no weight pegs on it, things like that. And he got up to like, I think it was 1100 or 1150, and I don't remember how far they had to go, but like those guys in the late 90s, early 2000s are doing those weights.
Yeah.
And guys are complaining that, oh, that's really heavy. That's
too heavy, yeah.
Are you in strongman to be a strongman or what? Like,
or to get easier weights.
yeah, like let's just, the promoter sets the weights, and we show up and show them if we can do it or not.
And that's the thing is that strongman's a sport where like the weights get kind of a little crazier every year. So when you look back years back and see weights of that caliber at that show, it really does show how serious this event is and how difficult it is.
Yeah. No, again, I understand their concern. It's the inherent danger, but it's what we signed the waiver for.
Absolutely.
You literally have to sign up for it. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
You need to know what you're signing up for.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to say it, but like someone could potentially like hurt themselves in a show which they can't walk away from. Like,
right.
You know, and we've seen it happen as well.
I mean, you did walk away from it, but you did hurt yourself at the last show too.
Yeah. That was just a little tear.
Just this is funny because this is when we talked to JF too. He said the same thing. He's like, "Oh, before the big injury, he said I haven't really been hurt," and I pointed out that he tore his hamstring at Worlds.
Yeah.
And he said that's not really like an injury. That's not really a torn hamstring.
Just work around
and
it.
So we now know that through talking to JF and now Wes Derwinsky, torn hamstring, not a real injury. Torn bicep, also not a real injury.
I guess not.
I guess not.
Brian did the Arnold's with his bicep torn off.
Yeah.
You know.
And I mean,
slap some tape on it, throw a sleeve on, and hope for the best.
We're a sport of supermen, and it's like it truly is that where you see guys do things that you shouldn't be able to do with 2 arms, and now you're doing it with 1 arm.
Yeah.
You know, you zeroed the stone event because of your injury. You hurt it on the first stone. Actually, you said you hurt it on the sandbag throw.
Yeah, North America's. Yeah. Felt a rip, like just a very subtle one in my arm, and I just thought I just tweaked it a little bit, and then made it through the sandbag run, but that first stone, it popped.
Yeah.
So.
And we said before too that like, it's cool if you can be like, oh, I got 4th place, but I won this event, whatever. But I think it's even cooler if you can be like, I got 4th place and I zeroed this event.
Yeah.
Like I still scraped together enough points to get to 4th place in this extremely difficult show while getting 0 points in this event.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking unreal.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it's just a stupid funny thing. I think especially the strongmen, like, or all the competitors, like, they would get it just like, yeah, I shit the bed really hard there. And then you're like, but I came back, so it's okay. It's not,
absolutely.
I definitely could have been better.
And now this year you'll be competing with 2 arms, so you can only imagine how dangerous it'll be at this competition.
As of right now, yes.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
I got both arms.
And that will not change. Nothing's going to change about having 2 arms.
Nothing's going to stop me from going, so.
And I don't doubt that for 1 second. Speaking of, you're a fan of the old school strongman. You're a fan. You're maybe a little bit of like an amateur historian when it comes to strongman. You've said before that you really appreciate, especially the old Canadian guys.
Yeah.
The LPJs, the Jimmy Paquettes, the guys who've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
One of the questions that were asked to us here was, and if you have to think about it for a second, we'll do that. But what's your favorite lesser-known story of old school strongman? What's something that someone's told you, or something that that someone shared with you, and something that you can share? Of course, that's always
there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah, that's always important. Something that you feel comfortable to share. But is there something that you think that's just like it kind of encapsulates the idea of like what strongman is to you?
Definitely all the old guys that like I came up with. Just some of the shenanigans are good stories that they've told after contests and stuff like that. But just seeing how tough the guys are that I came up with, and like, yeah, they'd tear things off and tape it up and just keep going. Like, but
have you ever seen something that was like that just blew your fucking mind? Like whether it's a feat of strength, whether it's somebody doing something they shouldn't have been able to do, whether it was somebody fighting through an injury or something like that, but something that you just saw where you're like, what did I just witness?
I got 3 things.
3 things, beautiful. I love it.
One, and it pisses me off every time he does it, is anytime we do the Herc hold, Simon Boudreau shows up, and he lets all of us go, and then as soon as we're done doing it, he goes and beats all of our time as the helper of the contest. It's not fair that his hands are still that strong.
Yes.
Number 2 is seeing Jimmy Paquette come back to CSM the year that he did after COVID, and knowing that he only trained for 2 weeks, and that he still beat a lot of guys that were training or didn't stop training. And I believe he loaded some of the heavier stones, and he did pretty good on the power stairs, and that's not an easy thing to do.
No.
So just seeing him at that lesser body weight, but seeing him perform like that, and just that you just look at you, that guy just has that. It's not something,
it just doesn't go away.
He didn't get that in the gym. He just has that. And then number 1 is LPJ making all of us look silly at CSM on the back lift. When he was just standing there in his flip-flops and sandals and whatnot in the dirt. And we're struggling to get the warm-up weight of 1,500 pounds to move. And then he just climbs under there, doesn't set anything up, just squeezes under there.
It doesn't change the adjustments or anything.
And bangs out 3 reps and just gets out and goes,
yeah, it's tough.
It's like we couldn't budget, and he repped it out. And he had not trained in years.
Yes.
He's retired.
Yeah, he's an older gentleman. Like, he's not.
And he was humongous. He had to be 400 pounds. He said he was less than Kelly, but I call bullshit on that one.
LPJ, Louis-Philippe Jean, and Jimmy Paquette, those are 2 guys that they started and finished in strongman before kind of this like current boom of strongman where it's a little bit more accessible and people can watch it in so many places. So those might be names that guys are like less than familiar with. But if that's the case, like you owe it to yourself to like look into who these guys are and what they've done, because you know who they are, because they're legendary names in the sport in Canada, and they've just done like outrageous things. And LPJ is a guy where he should be kind of classified as his own race besides human. Like you'd put him there with like maybe like a Thor or Brian Shaw or whatever, where it's like this just can't be a regular person. He
was he's not that like tall, but he was just massive. Everywhere. And you're just like that's genetics, man. Like you picked your parents better than the rest of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we at that same CSM that you're talking about, when we were sitting in a restaurant, he came up behind, and I told you this earlier, but he put his hand on my shoulder. He didn't even know who I was. He was just like, oh, look at all the young guys, whatever, right? And put his hand on my shoulder, and it was just like, it just weighed me down. I was like, what, who is this guy? And then I turn around, and it's fucking LPJ. And I was like, and that was a really cool thing about competing in, because I'm a nerd for old strongman too. So that was what was really cool about competing in Quebec there, where it's like, that's LPJ. That's Jimmy Paquette. These guys are just around. You know what I mean? Like, and we're being reffed by JF Caron, and there's just like the legends of Canadian strength sports are just right in front of us here.
Just meeting and then being able to compete possibly, or just compete in front of the guys that you see who paved the way for us. Like, it's not just that they were there before us. Like, they made the opportunities now available that we have.
Yes.
So, like, go compete, do your best, like, give them the respect back that they deserve, that they got us these opportunities.
I agree. That's why I think that you got to, like, these guys owe it to them. Like, people who are interested in strongman owe it to themselves to look into these guys, because these are guys who some of them broke themselves for the sport.
Yeah.
They were competing in a, like, and you look at, say, like Scott coming out west here.
Mm-hmm.
They were competing at a time where we didn't understand, like, how hard to push these things.
Yeah.
And what the end results of going as hard as you can, redlining all the time, could look like. And a lot of them they're feeling it now these days, and it's just it's really a shame. It would really be a shame to not for them not to get that recognition that they deserve and the respect that these guys deserve.
Exactly. Yeah. Pay, give them that back.
Yeah.
Show them the show is still going on that they started at, or that you were the rookie when he was the vet and he remembers seeing you, and now you're up at World's Strongest Man or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just giving the vets the respect.
When you're let's compare a show like, when you were doing, let's say OSM.
Yeah.
And then you suddenly made the jump to, say, Canadians, and then even more so when you made the jump to, say, some of the really big shows. Did you notice, like, a difference for you when all of a sudden you look around and you start to see these guys that you have so much respect for, and that you just know their shit, you know who they are and what they've done? Does that in any way affect you when you're competing, or are you able to kind of block that shit out?
I think sometimes it comes down to specific events. Like, if I am across from Tom Stoltman on Stones, it's just like, not a good day. It's like, I'm not going to look good here in the slightest. Like, I had that thought when I did in the heats, the sandbag steeplechase. In my head, I'm like, just try and keep up with Tom. And as soon as the whistle blew, he had the bag picked up and was like over the steeple by the time I took my first 2 steps. And I'm like, that plan just went to shit real fucking quick. And I was like, I'm not going to look good on TV now. but yeah.
When you compete and there's, like, say, a guy like LPJ or whatever in the crowd, do you notice that at all? Do you even notice things like that? Do you think of that as into your head at all, or are you just in the zone?
I think I would have, like, a quick little, like, moment, like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, these guys are here to actually, like, watch us. Like, they're also seeing that they still show interest in it. Right. And then seeing maybe, like, their reaction, because, like, watching JF ref or help equipment, like, the guy's just smiling all day. So it's nice to see. It's like, okay, he really does care about us, the athletes, and the show, and the sport in general. But overall, I don't think I think I can just switch it back off to, like, okay, back to the game.
Competitor mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, for anybody who hasn't done, like, if you're in Western Canada and you haven't done Westerns, it's very likely you haven't been around JF. You haven't seen him in person or whatever. But if you watch Easterns, or if you compete in Westerns, or you get to go to Canada Strongest Man or whatever, like, what you were doing this weekend, where you were hustling and working the whole time, that's exactly what he's doing too. Yeah. And he's not a guy he's not resting on his laurels. He's not like, I've done all this, I don't have to do it anymore. And it's like you said, he's, like, enjoying the process.
Yeah, he does it at the Shaw Classic at Strongest Man on Earth.
That's right.
He goes and helps Brian out.
And he tests equipment. He does all that shit.
He does test the equipment. And there's no reason for him to he tested the squat with Fred. Yeah. Like, JF, just relax, man. Like, other people can try things too. And then sometimes maybe because he tested it, his suggestion makes things harder.
Did that happen?
It may have at one of the events, but he's like, no, it's too easy. Okay, cool. I've done 6 other events before this, but yeah, it should be too easy. Yeah, but
we were having a conversation in the pros group chat where you shared a picture of. I'm sorry, who was it that was doing it?
It was LPJ at Fortissimus.
It was LPJ, that's right.
I was trying to get like $50 or something out of JF if I could, like, replicate this picture, or, like, break some sort of, like, just, like, strongman fun record. And it's LPJ, a picture of him lifting the 525-pound power stair.
The notoriously difficult power stairs that they have on these there.
It just, whether he cracked it off the ground and held it, I don't know, but just maybe lifted it to lock it, then put it down. Yeah. And because JF always offers up like $500 or $1,000 to break our deadlift record, but it's his record at like 998 or something like that. And none of us are at that point right yet. So I was seeing if maybe I could squeeze $50 out of him at North America's or that, and I would try and do like 2 reps or something.
Yeah.
And but I also thought it was just a really cool picture.
It is a great. It's like that's a good like strongman history photo.
Yeah,
I think.
especially because like Fortissimus is done. So like, 1 to be a part of it, and then 2 just to like have that like in your album or up on a wall or something.
Yeah,
like, it'd
absolutely.
be a nice memory to see.
And then JF just proceeded to say,
"Oh, it was too easy, so he's not gonna pay for it." But Tristan said he'd give me a toonie for it.
Yeah, you see, Tristan will pay you to do
So,
it. Yeah,
and I will hold him to that.
as you should. Yes, JF said that he's like, well, I can do it, so it's not that easy.
And then I asked for proof, but I said no security cam footage. I want to see him do it. And since then, and he said he has, and I've been thinking about it. I'm pretty sure I've watched him do that with one hand, and I think I even watched him load the lighter one with one hand onto the first hit. Like I could be wrong, but it's in my head. Like I've seen him do it actually.
When you can say something like that like doesn't make sense. And it's like, well, that doesn't seem possible. But then you're like, oh yeah, but it's JF, so it actually is entirely possible.
Like, it might have been. Yeah.
So we'll get to another question here. Okay, so here's an interesting one actually, and this might take a little bit of thought on your part here. But what are some lesser known tips that you would give for common strongman events?
Lesser known tips,
like just like the secrets of the pros, maybe, if you have anything like that.
Know the rules, and if you want to play the rules, you can do that. There's a lot of that at the top apparently. Yeah. I don't see it. I'm too oblivious to it to be like, oh, this guy had different shoes on when we tested it. Now he don't. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, okay, good for you, man. You got one by us.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like Yoke and Farmers, because we had the show yesterday, and it was Max Farmers. A lot of them pick it and they're looking down, and then they start taking a step. And I was always told, if you look down, you're going to put it down. Mm-hmm. So you always look where you want to go. And the other thing I almost called everybody on is they were looking to drop it on the line instead of looking past the line. Because if you look to drop it on the line, you might drop it before the line.
For sure, yeah.
Because you're leaning into it. You think they're where they are, and they're not.
Yeah.
And there was a few people that they dropped them right on where they needed to.
Just leaving no room to breathe at all. Yeah.
And with the rules, that would have been a complete waste.
Yes.
Walk all the way to the line and then put it there, and that's a 0.
Yeah, a few people carried it all the way across.
Yeah.
And I think that if you can do it, that's not a bad strategy, just to be absolutely sure. There's no question in anyone's mind that you got it.
Yeah.
How about this? Is there anything else that you saw yesterday that is advice that you would say that was a good thing, or that's something that I might change?
Yeah, if you're going to warm up, give it a good effort. Don't try and, like, baby the weight or something. Like, I'll use the train wheel. They had a train wheel yesterday at the show, so, like, I'll use that as an example. Like, if I'm trying to play with it in the back while we're warming up, trying to figure out how I'm going to pick it up, like, I'm going to, feel where my hands are. Okay, then when I got it, I'm going to try and give it an effort so that I know what it's like.
Yeah.
Not just kind of like, oh, it is heavy. Okay, we'll figure it out.
If nothing else, you can rattle yourself. If you're like, that, God damn, that felt fucking heavy.
Yeah,
and,
if you're not someone who was coming in like, I'm gonna do everything. It's not an issue. You might, I can do these 2 things in the medley, but the last part, I don't know. So I need to get familiar with this object.
Sure.
Other than that, footwear, just. And I know not everybody can afford to have like 9 pairs of shoes to go to a strongman contest, but just be aware of like where you're going to be competing and what the flooring might be like.
Right.
And if you have old shoes, like, invest in some shoes so you got some grip.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't want that to be the limiting factor.
Right, and that's something that goes so fast as the grip on the bottom of your shoes.
Yeah.
You really can't have that in some events.
Yeah.
How about this? This is the question we asked, but it's a question that I'd be curious to know. If you had a brand new novice competitor, and they're like, I really want to try this sport, what would you tell them that they absolutely need to have in their competition bag for that first competition?
Deadlift straps and a belt.
And that's it.
And wrist straps if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need knee sleeves. You don't need elbow sleeves if you're just trying it out. But yeah, they do help. They're very comfortable, keep you compressed and everything. We all wear them,
right?
And we don't just wear them to be fashionable or something. Right. Like, whether it's a placebo effect or not, it feels good to lift in them.
Absolutely.
But if you're just novice and you just want to try it out, you don't need everything.
Right.
Just settle down, We don't need to be powerlifters.
Because you see that exactly.
Deck ourselves out in whatever SBD puts out next week.
But I think you should deck yourself out in whatever SBD puts out next week, to be absolutely clear on that. But I think yeah.
It's not a hate on that. It's just
no. But
it's more of the powerlifting.
It's a powerlifting thing, though. Where
I need the new color. I need the new color.
If you go on Facebook Marketplace right now, there is some brand new powerlifting gear on there. There's always new shoes.
Yeah.
There's always new sleeves. Usually a new belt. That's someone who obviously tried it. They bought into the idea that they need to have the whole, the super suit. They're not literally, but their Power Ranger suit that has everything on it.
Jeffers already.
No, I don't mean the deadlift suit. I just mean like having everything.
Yeah, he looks
together.
like Grimace with all this.
He's shaped like Grimace these days. Too.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He's the biggest guy on the circuit.
He is. James Jeffers is now officially the biggest man on the circuit. And
well, no, let's rephrase that. He's the fattest man.
Well, I was
going
to say we don't mean that as a compliment.
Yeah.
So
he is not the tallest or the widest, but he is.
He's the front to back. He's the biggest.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
He is the fattest man on the circuit.
Shout out James Jeffers for that. Really good work, buddy.
I'm proud of you. And we have you know what? No, I don't think the new guy Jasmine in Quebec is part of the circuit yet, but he's like 6'9", 400 pounds.
I haven't seen that guy yet. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
I'm sure he will be on the circuit soon enough.
Yeah,
then.
he played uni ball.
Awesome. That's sick. That's a guy to watch out for in Canadian Strongman. Then.
Yeah.
And coming up through the Eastern system like that, that's going to be a good,
Yeah,
good shit.
he's still like very new, but yeah, he's got a hell of potential with those.
Very high genetic ceiling.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So here's a question from Nick Wortham: is it better to be good or better to be lucky?
I don't know. Lucky's got me this far.
I'll say
Yeah. Lucky's got me this far, but I don't know. I might have to start relying on hard work and determination.
Maybe it's time for you to get good. Have you ever thought about that?
That's a lot of percentage to get good, man.
I think if anybody can do it, it's Western.
You got to get lucky, then you got to get good. That's when you get to be crusty.
There you go.
That's when you achieve crustiness.
Yeah. It's only at the top.
Here's one. I don't know if this question even interests you too much, but who would be your top 5 in NAs right now? Could you pick that?
I could try. In no particular order. Me.
And then that's it. Thank you so much.
Be like Max, Bryce, Tristan, me, and I'm trying to think of the other Maxes. Tim, with these events, I wouldn't count Tim Buck out, but what other Canadians are coming? You and Colton.
Mm-hmm. Gabe.
And Gabe.
Jeffers?
Yeah, sorry. Gabe.
Jeffers.
And Jeffers. I think like any of us could also be that bubble guy.
Sure.
Like, yeah. But that's the top 5. That's what I picked.
All right, cool. This is I don't know if you know this person. Paige. It says, ask him to show the bald spot on his belly.
No. No.
Sorry, Paige. I guess you'll have to ask him yourself for that one.
The tacky ripped my fucking hair right out. No, I just have a bald spot right here.
It stays bald?
No, like it fucking ripped again.
Oh, just recently?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But, yeah. No.
Well, sorry, we're not going to... Ladies and gentlemen, I'm...
No, you got to pay for that.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not stupid.
The shit is
I'm going to show
not
skin.
free.
I'm going to make some money.
That'll be the after hours episode. We put it behind a
You got
paywall.
to subscribe.
Yeah, so when we finally start making money on this podcast, that's going to be how we do it.
There you go.
What do we got for time there, Jan?
48 minutes.
All right. So we'll start to kind of get into the wind down of this a little bit here, but... So let's kind of get into what does the future look like for the original moose of Canadian Strongman, Wes Derwinsky?
Hopefully, continually do World's Strongest Man as many times as I can, and Strongest Man on Earth, and all the Canadian shows that I can because they're my favorite ones to do.
Yeah. Here's a question for you: Do you have a finish line?
No. No, I don't want to see it. I don't want to think about it. It's somewhere down the road.
Yep.
And we'll worry about it when we hit the finish line.
And I mean, I don't mean this as an insult, but I don't think a lot of people realize how young you are.
Yeah, I look a little bit older than I am. I'm not quite almost 40 like your mom did.
Yeah, my mom was like, yeah, you're almost 40. I'm like, I'm not almost 40. I'm 35. Jesus. Like,
well, to be fair, I told her, I was like, Sherry, he's closer to 40 than he is 20.
She's roasting me today for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
But you're a young guy. You still have a long time in the sport. And that's why. And I don't mean to put like you're almost done. What are you gonna do? But it's like you don't envision an end game for yourself.
No, I don't see it. Not at all.
If you like, let's say you completely on your own terms decided to retire from Strongman end of this year.
Yeah.
Are you still? I mean, I think I know the answer to this question, but are you still involved in Strongman? Are you still around with Strongman?
Yeah. As best as I could for whatever the reason of retirement. But no, I would. If the circuit was still around, I'd be there helping out at every show I could and running shows back in the Niagara region if that was the case.
Cool, I love it. So, Wes, you're known as a bit of a social media freak. You're kind of all over it, and you're very active on social media. In fact, some people say that it's maybe a little too active on social media. If people want to,
like it, they can unfollow me.
That'd be crazy.
You don't have to see what I post. That's your choice.
That's such a great point. That's a great point. We all have the ability to just jump off a social media train whenever we feel like it, right?
Some people need breaks every now and again. Sometimes a long-term break. Sometimes really short breaks of social media.
Absolutely,
it just happens.
Yeah, and it, whatever works for you is what I want you to do. That's basically what I want you to take from this. But if anybody wants to follow the journey of Wes Derwinsky, what's the best way for them to do that?
Probably through Instagram. Yeah,
Instagram,
Strongman_Moose.
Strongman_Moose.
Yep.
And do you have any parting words, parting sentiments, thoughts for, let's say, for Manitoba Strongman, for Canadian Strongman, for whoever might be listening to this right now?
Make sure you support your local shows, not just the ones that are under a federation or an association. Support those too, but support your local ones because that's where you probably started or a lot of other people ahead of you started, and just keep that community aspect into it.
Love it. So on behalf of the whole Manitoba Strongman community and everybody who competed yesterday, everybody who came and watched, everybody who volunteered, we want to thank you very much for coming down, for lending your expert opinions, for lending your hard work, for lending your refereeing. You were a great referee, by the way. You were exactly what we wanted. You were nice and tight with the calls.
I did the English version of Yannick Normandin.
Absolutely, that's what we strive for. Is Yannick is the pinnacle of Canadian refereeing right now. So, thanks for everything you did, man. It really does mean a lot for you to come down here, and especially because Wes got stuck here for an extra day. His flight was changed, so we're just hanging out with Wes in the house for a little bit longer, and we like it. We hope you enjoy your time here too.
Oh, thank you, man. You took me to the wrestling school and everything, so that was pretty cool too.
Yes. Okay. I want to talk about that too. Is that make sure that you, however you might do it, make sure you contact your local wrestling federation and tell them that you know of this amazing new wrestler out of Niagara Falls, Canada, and they need to book Moose Derwinsky on their shows.
We could go for like a tag run.
That would be amazing. I would love that.
Just pick up all the territories, tag belts.
We'll be like the Legion of Doom, where we never fall down.
Yeah,
we hurt people, and that is it. I would
love that. We cannot take a bump.
No,
no
I would
more.
love that. That'd be lovely. But thanks again, Moose, for joining us here. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who came out and burgers.
Oh my goodness.
Thanks to everybody who came out and supported at Manitoba Strongest Man and Woman. Thanks to all the athletes who came out. Congratulations to our podium finishers. Congratulations to Erin Penner for taking third in the women's division. Congratulations to Jocelyn Grimolfson, one of the best competitors coming out of Manitoba today, for taking second place. And a huge congratulations to our new women's champion, Anna Fund, one of the younger competitors that day, and really, really had an awesome performance. We're looking forward to seeing what she has coming next. There might be another Strongman appearance from her coming up in Western Canada this year. We're really hoping for that.
All eyes on her.
Absolutely.
Give her the attention.
Yeah, give her all the attention. And make sure you tell her that she did great, because she loves the attention. And congratulations to our men's podium. We had Michael Thrones. A bit of a shock in third place there. It was really, really awesome to see him come over from powerlifting and just dip his toe, and then also do extremely well in the competition.
And run the live stream.
And run the live stream at the same time. That's he admitted that he might have spread himself a little thin on that one, but we appreciate to no end all the hard work he puts in. And if you watch the live stream, and 1,000+ of you people did, so thank you for tuning in. Feel free to shoot Michael Thrones a message and just let him know that he did a great job with that, because he really did. It was not easy what he was doing. He was sitting behind the computer, doing all the technical stuff, and then he would run out and compete, and then he would come right back and start running it all again.
He'd pop his head up and go, "Oh, I got to warm up."
Oh, I'm next. Yeah, I haven't done any warm-ups yet. So thank you to that for him and for everything that he does for the Strongman stuff. We really appreciate it. Congratulations. In second place, we had the BFD, Dan Cadger. Awesome performance. Did a lot of what he wanted to do. I know he had a couple things that didn't go quite the way he wanted him to, but hey, that's competition day, and that's the way it goes, and he still did fantastic. We were really happy to see him do Iron Age. So proud. And congratulations to our now two-time champion, Manitoba Strongest Man 2025, Andrew Langelar. Huge improvements that we've seen even from last year to this year. He hit a 400-pound overhead press, smoked the squat event, smoked the medley event, just had a really, really great day. We're super excited to see how our next Manitoba athlete does when he tangles with the real big boys at Canada's Strongest Man, presumably against our guest here today.
We're the smaller athletes there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll never forget when I showed up to Canada's Strongest Man for the first time, and one of the guys asked what I weigh, and I said 310 pounds, and he said, "Oh, so you're one of the smaller guys today?" And
you're one of those fast guys.
Yeah, and I said, "Yeah, I guess here I am." But we're looking forward to seeing how he competes there. Well deserved, huge performance at Western Canada's, huge performance in Manitoba's. Thank you guys for paying attention. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys whenever we decide to record one again.
And then smile.
Yeah, make sure you smile.
Good job, guys.